Where would we be without a sense of our local history? Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that here. The historical record is kept by the Alachua County Clerk of Courts. The clerk's office has been keeping records in Alachua County for as long as there's been Alachua County. Those records are available to all of us, and as we are about to see, for some, they're more than just faded ink on dusty pages.
Every town has one. Maybe not an official one, but every town, every county has a historian. That guy who knows things that everyone else has forgotten. In Alachua County, that man is Jim Powell.
1846. Roman Sanchez was the clerk of the court.
Obscure? Maybe. But it is history. History that the county clerk's office is preserving.
I guess what we do here is, tie technology to the past is what we do. We're taking the technology that we have, and it's changed since we started. It's a little easier than it was when we started. And we take that technology to make the clerk's records that much easier to access.
Access to history is what Powell was initially after around 10 years ago, and one book in particular.
Well, it started everything. Started my voyage.
He started out by looking for information on his own family tree. At the time, the only way to access the earliest official county records was to visit them at the courthouse and physically go through the records, books and more books of hundreds and thousands of laboriously handwritten pages. Then there was the book he now calls the Holy Grail.
Ancient Records Book. 1826 to 1848. Well, it was sort of like a dark hole. There was a lot of stuff in this thick book, but the average person is not going to look through that book all the way, and if you do, it's hard to read. But if you can take the names out of there or transcribe it, it brings light to it.
So Powell approached clerk of the county court, J.K. Buddy Irby.
So I asked Mr. Irby if I could have copies to index for him, and actually I started transcribing the thing where you could read every word. And I brought Mr. Irby like 50 pages that I'd transcribed.
The pages concerned one Gabriel Priest and his efforts to be reimbursed by the federal government after his home had been burned by Seminole Indians in the area.
It was something we'd never heard before. And he says, I can read this, I can look at that, but I can't really read it. This is history. You should work for me. And I said, no, it wouldn't be any fun.
Thankfully, Powell changed his mind and went to work in the county archives. And the rest is recovered history. The pages shed light on some of the county's most important and memorable historical figures.
The first part here is Moses E. Levy and one of his mortgages on the Arredondo grant. They show him in places like Paris and London in the 1840s. There's one deed to a lady in Paris. Then he goes to London and bumps into somebody that he owes money. He ends up borrowing money from the guy he owes money on the same land, and there's a long mortgage, and at the end of it he mentions that he already has it mortgaged to the lady in Paris. So that's some of this would be page after page after page of legalese so that he could hide the other at the end is the way it looks. Whether it was or not, that's the way it looks.
But the records don't give us the whole picture. They are pieces of a puzzle that we will probably never finish. A fragmented image of our past.
There's a story in here, or the record of Micanopy, Chief Micanopy, selling a little girl back to her parents, or at least that's the appearance.
Then there is the puzzling story of Joseph Valentine, a free black man living in Alachua County who sold himself into slavery. His reasons are unknown, but social pressures or inability to find work may have been factors.
In the end, he became a county commissioner. And that's sort of one of those rags to rich stories that, nobody's really heard, and that was here in our county.
And as page after page and book after book has been transcribed and indexed, they have also been made available to the world online. Now citizens can transcribe and index pages online at the clerk's website, www.alachuacounty.us/clerk, subject to Powell's review and approval.
We've got several thousand pages that folks have done from all over the country. We've got people from Alaska and, like I say, Hawaii and all over the country that have roots here and really value them for the time and the history that we have here. We've got a lot of history that I'm sure every place has lots of tidbits that, they could share, but we're sharing them.
But be careful. Once you step back in time, you may find it hard to leave the past behind you.
You can get lost. If you're transcribing or something like that, you can get lost in the time. It's almost like transports you back, and you get the feeling that you're not here, you're there. You become one with the page, sort of, if you're good. Borrowed money in Paris and then goes to London.
Even if you do get lost in the history, don't worry. There's a lot of work to do.
I think it's really important that we do every piece of it and we make it easily accessible and indexed. There's still lots of books to go here.
For County Update, I'm Alan Yetter.